Hello, thank you very much for joining. Today I'm really excited. I have Barbie with me. Hi, Barbie.
Hi.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm really excited to have you on today.
Thank you.
Barbie, can you just tell us a bit about you and what you do and maybe a bit about your background?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for watching. My name is Barbie Figueroa. And yeah, I am a work-at-home mom, or I have my own business, and I have 3 boys, and I've been happily married for 20 years. And what I do actually is I help clients that want to build a business on the internet. I kind of help package them, and then what we do is we help them create more leverage and time freedom in their business, so they're not trapped in their business. Because I'm sure a lot of us have experienced that at one point or another, right? Being trapped in the always trading time for money trap. So we also build like sales funnels and stuff for clients. So it's kind of like a 2-part thing. We do some brand strategy, and then we do some system strategy so that they can build a business they love that also allows them to have a life.
Oh yeah, life they love. Woohoo!
Yeah.
So how did you, I mean, where do you come from? Like, what's your background? How did you get here? Because I think oftentimes especially the type of clients I work with, they sort of get overwhelmed by, people who say, oh yeah, my life is so fantastic. I love my life, which, I mean, a lot of people do. But it's like, it hasn't probably always been that way. So what does your journey look like?
Well, let's see. There's so much, right? Because we have so many facets of our lives and so many little stories within stories. But I guess for me, there's been this underlying current of a story, a theme, if you will, in my life. And it really started when I was like 6 years old. As I love my parents. Thank God they're still alive, and I really love them, and I know that everything that they did was out of love and taking care of us, but they also kept us from really living our potential, and so they would take away a lot of opportunities for us to do some cool things or advance in life, like in school, for example, I was tested gifted a couple of times, and I was able to go to a special school, but they wouldn't let us go because, fear and this and that, whatever. Without getting into too much detail, as a very young girl, I remember clearly being in my room in the dark because I was really upset at something that happened with my parents that day. And I was like, one day I want to grow up and I want to be a present mom. I want to be a mom that is close to her kids. I want to be that mom that everyone's like, no, don't be a friend with your kids. No, I want to be that mom because I didn't have that. I needed it. And so from very, very, I kind of declared it. Like, I almost feel like it was just, it was just the catalyst to how my life evolved, and now I am home with my kids, and they're all homeschooled, and they're all kind of doing what they're meant to do in life. I mean, they're still young, and I've got one's about to turn 16, so we're doing the whole driving thing right now, but and then I've got one that's about to turn 13, and my baby is 10, but they're all individually gifted in a very different way. And so I'm trying to facilitate to the best of my ability for them to live that potential that through their God-given gifts that they were given, so that they can not struggle as much and have that life that I believe that people should have, where you should be able to do what you love and get paid at the same time without it feeling like work,
Yeah.
So, it kind of evolved. I worked in construction for a long time as in an administrative position. I wasn't out there with the hammer and the nails or anything like that, but so I've always been attracted to building things and systematizing things and stuff. And I ended up working from home after I had a really crappy boss that wasn't happy with the fact that I was pregnant. was really mean and condescending. And I was like, you know, I do not visualize this life for myself. This is not, it just doesn't feel right, doesn't fit. I have to figure out how to escape the rat race, you know? And through a lot of persistence, determination, and calling everyone that I possibly knew to get the word out there, like, how can I start working from home? I made it happen, you know?
Yes,
But it evolved, you know, because, you know, you start working from home, and then you start figuring, oh, the internet, how can you make money on the internet? And, you know, and anyway, so I ended up really, I launched my own personal business in, I believe it was 2004, because I was through my journey, I started selling on eBay for a while, and I noticed that there was a big problem with some people would succeed and some people were failing, and they were selling they could both be selling the exact same, they'd both be selling the exact same thing, yet one would be ultra successful and the other one would be struggling to get rid of their inventory. And it just struck a chord in me. And anyway, so I started, that's how I got into branding, because I knew what was missing. You know, I had the ability to see why one was struggling, one was failing. And it just all evolved into what I'm doing now, you know, just feeling compelled to solve these little problems.
Yeah.
And I've been able to create a business where I help people solve these little problems that they can't see themselves. I help them see in themselves what they really can't see in themselves, and help them, you know, launch their business online so they can build the business that they've always wanted, you know.
Yeah,
and so I hope that I was a little bit all over the place, but I try to wind you through my journey a little bit.
And I mean, there's a lot of really amazing things that you just said. The first thing I just want to pick up on is what allowed you to sort of really, is it something that shifted literally in your mind when you declared you wanted to be a certain way? When you were a little girl and you knew that you wanted something different for your life and you wanted something different for your future children.
Yeah.
How did that happen for you? Because a lot of people, they struggle, you know, they've had the difficult past, they've had, you know, possibly abuse or whatever, you know, substance or physical or whatever abuse. And they just kind of hold on to that. And it's really hard for them to let go of that. So what is it you did to sort of shed that or let go of it and be who you are today?
Wow, that's a, you know, all I can tell you is that thinking back when I was a little girl, I was just determined. It was just in my nature. I really could not see, like, for example, when I was working 9 to 5, and this is years back, but I know that there's some people that may be going through that now, so I just want to give you a little bit of the thought process.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I'll tell you the story, actually. Some of you might get actually offended because it's a really, like, you want to. So I was 6 weeks pregnant, and I was at the fax machine, and my boss walks up to me, and he says, so aren't you in that stage where something can still happen in your pregnancy? I was like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, you know, can't something still happen? You know, aren't you in that fragile stage? And I was like, what do you mean, like having a miscarriage? And he's like, yeah, can't you still, like, have a miscarriage? I was like, well, yeah, but I certainly hope you're not wishing it on me. And he's like, come on, do you really want that baby? So I know. So I'm like, you know, it's just everything that it just sunk to the pit of my stomach. And I think sometimes, even though I'm not a proponent of anger, but sometimes you have to get so angry and so ticked off and so enough is enough that you have to put your foot down and you have to make a decision. Are you going to be on this side of the fence? Or are you going to be on this side of the fence?
Yeah.
And there is no gray area. It's either going to be this or it's going to be that. And for me, I could not see myself, you know, under the authority of a person who did not share my core values, which is I want to be home with my kids. I want to, you know, and it's rooted from when I was 6. I'm like, no, you're not going to do that. And so, you know, then so to answer your question, Linda, you have to, at some point in your life, you have to make a decision. Yes. Are you going to be on this side of the fence, or are you going to be on this side of the fence? There really is no in between. You know, so maybe you just need someone to tick you off enough to get you off your tookish to do something. I don't know, you know. So, you know, but this, I mean, that thing struck a chord. And sometimes I look back and I think, you know, it's funny that it had to happen that way for me to get that angry. Yeah. So that I took massive action, so that I just could, what is it? Burn the boats, burn the bridge, cut the boat, whatever it is, that just move the other way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, you just got to make a freaking decision.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I know that what you do is you just help people sort of discover their story and sort of help them use their story to well, live their authentic lives and be sort of a more authentic person within the world, and make a true contribution. So what would you say to people who are really struggling with maybe shame or blame or guilt or maybe anger around their story, and like how can they overcome that and still use their story? Because the story, I mean, that's it's kind of right?
Yeah, well, so for example, let's take it from a business perspective, right? When people come to me, the first thing I want to know is, you know, by the way, I do have some like journalistic background. So I want to dive in deep quickly and learn more about you, figure out who you are, not to overanalyze you, but to get a feeling for who you are. Because since what I do is I create a digital representation of yourself through like the websites and stuff like that. I need to get a feel for who you are. I don't just, you know, slap together a website and that's it. No, I want, you know, as you know, everything is energy. You can feel everything energetically. Yeah. And so when you land on someone's site, you should immediately feel instinctively, you get a vibe for that person. And we do that through color energy, through, you know, their photography, whatever. But what happens is when people come to me, they are in business and they think they're competing against a bunch of other people that are doing the same thing that they are. And my job is to show them that no, you're not competing against anybody. Your job is to just be the best version of yourself and to stand out from the crowd, not against the crowd, if that makes sense. Just stand out rather than stand against. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what I do is, you know, I tell everyone, you know, I love Dr. Seuss. He says something to the effect of, you are you, that is truer and true. There's no one that's out there that is fewer than you. Okay, yeah. So I'm like, right? So I'm like, so if we can figure out what your story is, that immediately sets you apart, right? That's what's going to make you connect with the people that want to work with you, that want to do business with you, that want to join you if you're in a network marketing company, because I work with a lot of network marketing professionals. So people want to connect with people that they know, like, and trust. And a way to do that very quickly on the internet is through creating commonality and relatability. And how do you do that? You know, you want people to know, like, and trust you. You got to be a little vulnerable and share a little bit of your story. And so I know that some people are not ready to, there's, you know, what I tell my clients though is that depending on what it is that they're doing, so let's say your end goal is whatever, selling a product or whatever, you tell your story as it relates to the end goal. Because, I mean, don't we have a multitude of stories, right? I have a weight loss story. I have a story of how I got married. I have a story. So it's how it relates to whatever your end goal is for what you're doing. Now, how do you overcome the pain or abuse or anything like that? Listen, there is no easy way to say it, because I can't I can only come from my experience. I don't know what it's like to have certain pains that other people are going through. All I can say is this, is that there's beauty in what do you say? How do I say this? There is beauty in the mess, right? You let's just say, for example, you got two people who are trying to lose weight, right? You've got the person who struggled, who was 300 pounds, who had, maybe they had a really bad childhood that led them to, depend on food for comfort and all these things or whatever. And they struggled and they ended up, losing weight, this and the other, right? And then you got the other person who's just wants to lose a few pounds, right? Which one is more compelling emotionally to you? The one that has the one that, everyone loves, not the rags to riches story, but that too, but everyone loves the hero story. You know what I'm saying? And so if you can get to a point where you're far enough away from it that you can say, how can I use this to heal others? And when you heal others, you really do, you heal yourself, right? You continue to heal yourself. How can you take that and make it a beautiful thing? Because you can, and a lot of it is just fear of what people are going to say and fear of what people are going to think. It's not easy to share some of the things that, I was a kind of, I don't want to say embarrassed, but I left my house when I was 18 years old, and I ended my first place that I lived in was a little tiny. It was a garage, and there was no kitchen, there was no phone, I washed my dishes in the bathroom sink, and someone else might say, "Oh my God, I don't want to tell anybody that," you know what I mean? But now it's like, I'm grateful for that story, right? Because it's like, even to remind myself, gosh, Barb, you've been through hell and back, but you're still here.
Yeah,
right?
That's where you come from, and look where you are today.
Yeah. So yeah, you just gotta kind of, from my experience, it's just, you gotta just make peace with it and see, how can I take this little lump of coal and make it into a diamond? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Make lots of diamonds out of your coal, because there's no sense in carrying all that coal when you can convert it into a diamond.
And it's such a beautiful thing too, Linda, when you share some of those things and someone says, "Oh my gosh, I went through the same thing. Thank you so much for sharing that, because if it wasn't because you shared that, I wouldn't have the courage to XYZ."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So this is, I've seen this actually with a lot of my clients, where they're so ashamed of sort of what's happened in the past, or the whatever relationships they've had or not had, or whatever, like they've been fired, they've been hired, they've changed jobs, whatever the situation is, and they once they find the courage, and you're absolutely right, it is the courage that makes the difference. When they find the courage to share those stories, it can literally transform their lives.
Yeah, it does. It does. I was going to say something and it just escaped me, but yeah, they say that there is no testimony without the test, right? So, it's sometimes it's fun to tell your story, because not fun, but like it's when you share with people, man, I was in this horrible mindset. You have no idea. I was not like this. I was all battered and this and that, whatever. And I came through. There's just something that's just so freaking awesome about that, and if you can connect with the right people, there's people waiting on you to heal them. You know what I'm saying? So
yes, of course. people actually, they need to see, and I've seen this both personally and with my clients, is that once we individually start healing, the people around us start healing. So, you know, it's like, yeah, be the change you want to see in the world. Absolutely. This is like every moment of every day you have the opportunity and the choice to do this, and sharing your story is a really extraordinary tool in that journey.
Yeah.
Cool.
For sure. Yeah. And you know, another thing I was going to say, Linda, is that just also, I think we have to realize that a lot of us are afraid because of what society says, the world says that you should be. We have this picture of what we think we should be for others. And, that might, you know, I'm 40 something. I should already have this, or I should already have that. According to who?
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean? So ask yourself that. Who's saying that I need to be this or have that or whatever? You know what I mean?
What is your definition of success, and who's defining? Is it yourself or is it external?
Absolutely. And I struggled with that for a really long time. Okay. I went down a lot of, I think one of your questions was actually related to that. Like, how do you know you're on the wrong path or whatever? And how do you dig yourself out of the hole?
Is there even such a thing of being on the wrong path?
Well, I think, okay, from a philosophical point of view, we can all say, no, you're not ever on the wrong path. You're always where you're supposed to be, because you always learn something from it, which I agree with, you know, all that, being confused and lost and anxiety and all, because I went through that, when I went to expand my business online and stuff like that. I went through all that struggles of, what should I do and whatever, things that I should affiliate with or whatever. Gosh, I struggled a lot with that. But I learned, because sometimes you learn by contrast, right? You learn from what you don't want, what you do want. Some of us are more hard-headed than others, and we're like, okay, we have to experience enough of what we don't like and what's not working and bashing your head against the wall. Some of us, like,
it takes a long time. Yeah.
Really big contrast to realize, okay, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I surrender. I am just going to go with the freaking flow, and then eventually you're like, oh, now money's flowing to me. Clients are coming to me. Why? Because you are in your lane, Yeah. And so, yeah, you could totally be off track, but sometimes it's a good thing, because it will help you get on track if you're sick and tired enough, if you get angry enough, with not being on the right track,
And I guess it can also serve as a really good example of what you don't want. It can, you can add it to your "this is what I don't want" list.
Yeah, well, I think it's also something that you experience and that you feel, because if you're off track, you're going to be frustrated a lot. You're going to be confused a lot. You're going to be looking for external, reinforcement, and you're always going to be looking for outside opinions or whatever. When you're in your lane, and when you're walking in your purpose, I should say, when you're doing what you're meant to be doing, and it's almost like, and I can speak for me, your creativity just abounds, and you're just like, I don't know, you're just focused, you're in a flow. Time just doesn't feel like it's, like sometimes I'm in my office and it's like, oh my God, I've been in here for 5 hours. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go do something, And it's just you feel it. I think it's just something that you feel, and you see it with the results externally, but you have to be internally first. And I think a lot of us have it backwards. We act externally first, thinking that internally then things will work out, when it's the complete opposite. You've got to be, complete here first, and then everything else starts to arrange itself in the outside world,
Of course. And as a mother of 3 and a business owner, how do you do that? Because you seem to have a lot of things on your plate. So how do you start first inside and then?
Well, this is the thing. This is another way that I knew that I was out of alignment. You have to get back to what are your core values, and me as a 6-year-old girl, you know what I mean? Because I'll tell you what, in my pursuit of, how do I say this? Okay, so when you are out of alignment, for example, okay, you start to kind of like chase the wrong things. So for a while, I was like, oh, well, I want to, if I do this, I'll make more money. And if I do that, I'll whatever. But then when I would try different, like partnerships or whatever, I realized it was taking me away from being a present mother and, building a business where I've designed my business around my life and not the other way around, where my business runs me and all that stuff. And so if you know what and I would seriously recommend that you do a brain dump. Okay, a brain dump is, if you don't know what that is, you just grab a paper and a pen or whatever, and you sit down and you write, what are your core values? What's your core values? What do you believe in? What is a non-negotiable, right? If something takes me away from my family for more than a couple of days, I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Because they are my number one priority. There's one thing that I did learn from my mom, Linda, when we were growing up, and she's a feisty woman, I tell you. And she's a hairdresser. Well, she is still a hairdresser. She's still here. And my mom was the type of person that she would walk into a beauty salon and she would set her own schedule. And she's like, I can only work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I can only work from 12 to 2, and I need Sundays off, and this, that, and the other. Are you okay with that? And anyone would be like, are you crazy, woman? Like, there's enough beauty salons out there where I can call the shots. I want to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I need my Sundays off. I only want to work from 12 to 2. And she would just keep on going until she found someone that was going to do the way she wanted to. And I love that about my mom, because even though she didn't have her own business, she did like Frank Sinatra. She did it her way, right? Yeah. And so for me, I've kind of taken that same thing where, I was involved with some, partnerships or whatever, where it was, I had to be on all the time, nightly calls, work on the weekend. It was not working for my family. As a matter of fact, my husband gave me like one of those electronic frames where, they have one of these, actually, I'll show you. Or I can, it's plugged in, but it's an electronic frame and it flips through photos or whatever. And there's some photos where I'm like this. And it really, and it's a reminder to me what is important. What's important, right? So there's a time and a place for everything. So if you're with your family, put your phone down. That's one thing, right? So, and it goes back to getting back to the core value. So my core value is being a present mother and facilitating my children's, their ability to live whatever their God-given gift is in whatever way, that they can. And so if things don't align with that, I don't do it.
I love that. It's brilliant. And what I've just heard you say is really understand who you are, what's important to you, and say it to people, but also believe that it's possible. I love the story of your mother that went to the salons and said, this is what I am and this is what I want. And then you either want it or you don't, and that's fine with me. I'll carry on.
That's exactly right. And so many of us are like, oh no, but you can't do that. Oh no, but what are they? There's a lot, like my mom said, there's a lot of salons out there. I'm good at what I do. Someone is bound to hire me based on my criteria.
Yeah, and I suspect she was employed for
always. Yeah, and she has a following. That woman has people that follow her. If she leaves one salon and she will, if it's not working, I'll grab my stuff and I'm going to another salon. And she has people that have been following her for over 30 years.
Yeah, cool.
So that's one awesome thing that I did I did learn from my mom, and I didn't believe it was possible for a while. I was trying to bend over backwards for other people for a long time, and then I was like, why am I doing that?
Yeah, and you probably didn't feel very. I mean, it
No.
probably didn't feel good for you.
No, but we ignore those things, or we excuse them, or we justify it. You know what I mean? And no, you build it when you want to do it. Like, as a matter of fact, what was it? A few weeks ago, I also did another interview, and she's like, can we do the interview at 1:30? I was like, can't, because I have this time frame to this time frame, and this is all that I have, and this is the time that I work, and I work very focused. I do everything I got to do within this time frame. Afternoon, boom, from 12 to like 5, I am, mom hat goes on, and I'm a taxi driver, and I'm taking people to CrossFit class, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's it. And then at night, I'll work a couple of hours on my own time for clients or whatever, but anything that has to do with business or whatever, it's basically from 8 to 12, and that's it. Yeah. So it's really, it is knowing what you want and believing, you know, having the guts to say, I'm going to have it this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And what would be the trade-off, right? If you didn't, like, if you didn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's the trade-off? Because, man, when you are guided by purpose rather than, because when you're guided, here's another thing that I want to share. When you are guided by just the external, which is the money, the status, the notoriety, whatever, because it's easy to get well known on the internet and all that stuff if you put yourself out there enough or whatever. So, but if that is your end goal, there's 1,000,001 ways to get there. And unless you know what you get back to those core values and your purpose, right? You will feel like you're all over the place if you are guided by those principles. And I was for a while, Linda, I was, you know, and then I realized, oh my gosh, there was a period where I was not, where I was chasing those external things. And I was angry, frustrated, confused, whatever. And that's when you realize you are so far away from your purpose, from what you're supposed to be doing. And it's a great, it's a great GPS, right? That's a good way to know. So things should feel like they're flowing and in sync and fun, and you know what I mean? When you are on your purpose. So just figure out, put the blinders on, close the curtains, get everyone away from whatever anyone's told you, and sit down and say, what's important to me?
Yeah, because at the end of
you can look back on your story to give you the cues.
And how do people do that? How do people look back on their stories to get the cues? So yeah, how do they do that?
Yeah, you know what it is? First of all, you have to write it down. Write write your story. And what is your story? It's the burden that's in your heart. What do I mean by that? It is the problem that you just feel like you have to solve. Like it's this thing that bugs you in your chest, like you feel like compelled to solve this problem. Like for me, the whole trading time for money was a big issue for me because when I first came home and I was working an at-home job. I was home, but I was in my office, and while I was in my office, I mean, I wasn't with the kids, right? And of course, there's always going to be periods of the day. Like right now, I'm working and I'm not with my kids, obviously, right? But still, I was trading time for money, and I didn't know about residual and passive and all that kind of awesome, income that comes in when you're not there. I didn't know about all that stuff. It was a progressive, learning for me. So that was something that really irked me, and it bothered me, and it bugged me. Like I don't want to feel trapped on my computer all the time. How can I remove myself more from this equation? How can I work smarter so that I can actually build a business that also lets me have a life, right? And so that's why I love systems and systematizing things, you know what I mean? And so when I sit with a client, you know, like I said, it was a two-pronged thing kind of that I do. I sit down, we figure out who you are, you know, what you know, how best to package you, whatever. And now, how can we create this system where you're going to monetize certain things and whatever? Because I know that if I can get my systems to do a lot of the heavy lifting for me, that's going to create, I don't know that you can create time, but it will give you more time if you can get the technology to create more leverage for you. You know what I mean? So I just, I went off on a tangent, right? Am I passionate about it? Yes. Right? So that's how you know.
Yeah. Well,
it's the burden, it's the problem that you just look at. It's like, I have to solve that. You know what I mean? So maybe it's, you go into someone's house and you're like, oh, man, if I went in there, I would organize it like this, like this, like this. I would buy bins at this and this. And so maybe that is your gift. Maybe that's what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? If you find yourself constantly seeing other people, seeing how you can improve this process, this thing, this whatever in someone else's life, that is a cue. That's a cue.
So it's like, it's what you think about most. It's what you see most or you identify most. I mean, a hairdresser will always see people's bad hair, or a dentist will probably see people's bad teeth or whatever, like whatever. A surgeon will say, oh, I think, you know, we can fix that, or, you know, whatever it is. But if that before being the hairdresser or the dentist or the surgeon, I guess.
Well, it's just the problem that there's a burden. I think everyone has like this burden meaning it's a problem that you feel like you have to solve. You know what I'm saying? So, and what is business? What do we get paid for? Solving problems, right? So if you can solve problems for other people, you're going to get paid, right?
And whether that's as a business owner or as part of a larger organization, whatever it is, I think that is absolutely true no matter what, because in today's, what I like to call new economy, things are rapidly changing. And I mean, people need not only be entrepreneurs as business owners, but they need to be entrepreneurs as well within organizations if they're really going to make a meaningful contribution.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yep. It's all about the value that you bring to the table, you know? And so I'm also always looking, how can I increase my value? How can I learn something to increase the value of what I do? Because, you know, you're going to get paid on the value that you bring to the hour, not just by the hour. Right. Yeah. So I remember that when I was a kid, my dad's a mechanic. Well, he was a mechanic. He's retired now. And I remember, I mean, my dad was a mechanic, but if he wanted to make more money, he would go get certified in a certain thing, you know, like an air conditioning or whatever. So, you know, I know this is that's a little bit off topic, but, you know, increasing your own value as well, you know, is really a huge part of distinguishing yourself from other people that are doing the same thing as you without competing against them. It's just, I'm always constantly thinking, how can I create more value in myself? How can I become more valuable? Because then once you become more valuable, now people are willing to pay more money for the value that you bring, So it's all about solving problems, creating, acquiring the skill sets and the knowledge and all that and the experience to solve problems for people,
I love that. It's a really great way of looking at it, because a lot of people get really, really stressed out. I mean, I know people who were essentially born, they knew exactly what they wanted to do with their lives. I was not that person.
I knew what I wanted, as far as I knew that I wanted to be a present mother. I just didn't know what it was going to take to get there. I wasn't born saying, I want to be a branding strategist. Yeah. I wasn't born that way. I mean, I spent a lot of time of my life not knowing what career path I was going to take. The only thing that drove me was that, you know, the burden in my heart, which started when I was 6, that I wanted to be a present mother with my kids that would help, you know, help them, you know, take advantage of the opportunities based on their God-given talents. You know what I mean? Because, you know, they're all different.
Yeah.
And so,
okay, so
that's it. And then, you know, we fight a lot too, Linda. We fight with the way that our lives are trying to go, and I'm going to do it this way because I know that if I do it this way, I'm going to make X, Y, Z or whatever. And that's when we really mess ourselves up, when we try to stronghold how it's going to happen.
Resistance.
And that to me is a really big, important thing. If you get back to, again, your core values and what's important to you, and kind of surrender, but take action, obviously, but surrender, things will kind of just guide you to where you got to go. You know what I mean? I fought for a long time. And then I surrendered, and I was like, once I surrendered, it was like the money started flowing in, the clients started coming in, whatever, because you don't know the best way all the time.
Yeah.
It's an ego-driven mindset, you know?
So one thing that really intrigues me and is something I'm sure a lot of people struggle with is the fact that you sort of encourage your children to be who they authentically are without telling them they need to be a certain way. So can you just share a bit about how that works and how somebody recognizes that, sort of what the approach that you use?
With my kids specifically?
Yeah, because I think that's also something a lot of people struggle with. It's like, maybe if you can share how you do it, people can recognize how they might be able to do it, or they can recognize somebody that's authentically or genuinely trying to support them and who they are, rather than tell them, oh, you know, Barbie, I think you should go and do, like, I don't know, sell bikes on eBay or something, you know, whatever. Like, and you're like,
right. Well, okay. So since this is the underlying reoccurring theme in my life, right? I was not allowed to go to the gifted school. I wasn't allowed to do this or that and the other. And hey, it makes for a great story, right? Because at the end of the day, it's part of my story, right? Yeah. But I didn't, and like I said, I don't hold it against my parents. They were doing what they thought was best or whatever. So love them. Okay. Back then I didn't, but you know, now I've forgiven all that and I'm good with it. Right. Yeah. So, but I wanted to, I didn't want my children to wander through life being confused like I was a lot of the time, right? And I didn't want them to fall into the trap of what the world says success is, which is, you know, go to school, get a job, work 9 to 5, you know, all that stuff, you know. I was like, if I can shave that learning curve that took me so long for myself, if I can shave that learning curve off my kids, you know, I feel like that's part of my purpose. Yeah, I want to see them work within their gift and also make money so that they can be happy individuals, because that was more important to me. Their character, who they were, how they treat people, how they treat themselves, how they serve others. No one talks about that in school. We just talk about the money you're going to make and which job makes the most money and all that stuff. And I know at this point in my life, I'm 44, that in life, it doesn't matter all that. What matters is who you are, how you treat people, how you give, how you serve. That's what's important, your character. So that's why I brought them home to homeschool them, because it was more important to me who they became than what they became. Because I knew if who they were was good, then I didn't really have to worry about what they became, because they would be good. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll give you an example of my middle son, because I love to tell my middle son's story. He's got a story. I said, baby, we're going to tell your story one day, and it's going to be awesome. my little one, my middle son, he blonde hair, blue eyes, completely different than the other. He's the middle child. Ever since he was a little kid, ever since he was little, he loved puppets. He loved puppets. He would grab hand puppets and he would do the whole, oh, let's play puppet time or whatever. He loved Sesame Street, anything to do with puppetry or whatever, right? He was very creative, very, and I just knew. I said, this child is so creative, he's very in tune and stuff. And so anyway, when he was around 7 or 8 years old, my husband's like, I'm kind of worried, I kind of want to put him back in the school system because, I don't know about this whole homeschooling thing. He just didn't buy into it yet, you know what I mean? And I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. Da, da, da. He's so creative and he's this and that. I just want him to explore whatever. He's like, no. So anyway, we ended up putting them back in public school, which I wasn't happy about. So once he was in public school, it was this really gifted, creative child trying to fit into like this box, So of course, he wouldn't focus half the time. He wouldn't pay attention half the time. He was very well behaved. He was very good. But he just, when it came to learning, these boring subjects at school that us creative people are like, it was just always, it's like, oh, because your son is this and your son is that and we need a meeting and this and that. I was just getting tired of all the teacher-parent meetings and all this stuff. And then at one point they said, listen, your child is learning disabled. And we need to, put him on a protocol, get him diagnosed ADHD, maybe put him on some sort of medication so he can focus and all that stuff. And I was like, no. Done deal. No. I told my husband, I'm done. We're taking him out. I'm not doing that because I see his gift. So we brought him home, and my husband, he does computer networks. So we have computers like we live on the Starship Enterprise kind of, like we have like everything tech, computer, that's my husband, right? Yeah. So my son has a computer, whatever, and he just started animating, doing animation, like literally, he would do like intros, animated intros for videos for YouTube, and he's only 12, right? And he would upload his animations. He started his own YouTube channel. He's a little hustler on Skype. He has his own business, and he sells intros. People pay him to do animated intros for them and stuff. And now, just recently, we got him a student license for the same animation software that the Pixar studios use, that the Pixar animators use. And so he's been working on an animation board just this weekend, and it's his passion. I mean, he just loves anime. So, and he's like, one day when I grow up, I want to work for Pixar, And so I knew that was his gift. I knew that he wasn't learning disabled. He just didn't thrive in that environment. Yeah. So I had to honor his gift. Yeah. That's all I want to do. I just want to honor their gift. Because a lot of us are not encouraged to honor our gift. So that's why we spend our whole life trying to go back to what that is. You know what I mean? And I knew that if I could start soon enough, I don't know if he's going to work for Pixar when he gets older. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, he's been animating for like 2 years already, and it's a passion. He loves it. He's made money with it. He has his own little business. So, I feel like he's ahead of the game now, So how do you identify it? They'll show you. Yeah. They'll show you. I was open-minded enough to know that it's not that school was wrong, because it is really good for a lot of kids. But I just knew that he didn't thrive in that environment. It wasn't that he was bad or a bad student or learning disabled, like they said. It's just he did not thrive within the confines of this box.
Yeah.
And if you don't, fit in that box, then you are labeled a certain something. Isn't that real? Isn't that life? Right?
Well, isn't that Einstein said, if you judge a fish by the way it climbs a tree, he'll spend his life thinking he's stupid?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So just for me, I just knew that was just part of I guess my life's purpose was to break the mold for my kids so that they would be, so they would be within their genius. They would always have every opportunity to operate within their zone of genius, because I think that's where a lot of our pain comes from, Linda, that we all have something. I really, truly believe everyone has a gift. Everybody has some gift, but we're just so buried and bombarded by external, things and what's the word? When you're trying to live up to something, what is it?
Expectations, like people's expectations.
Yes, expectations of us, that we're so caught up in those things that we neglect, that thing that's already inside of us, so.
I love it. Yeah. And it's about coming to, inside and being centered and really trying to discover your voice and like block out anything that's coming from the outside, because how do they ever know? And I love that you said people will show you, because actually you show yourself if you just quiet your mind and stay still and do the brain dump and do what you need to do.
Get off Facebook.
Yeah.
Honestly, I am serious. Like, get off Facebook and stop watching what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Because it will confuse you. It does lead to confusion. When you start looking, the moment you do this, that's it. You've taken your eye off what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? So get off of Facebook. Stop watching what everyone else is doing. And really, I mean, I think that we were all intelligently created, and if you just block out everything and get one with your creator who created you, he knows, right? So just block everything out, and you'll get the answers.
I love it. This is awesome.
It took a long time for me to really be firm in that, though, Linda. So yeah, it took a long time. So I mean, it's all part of the story. It's all part of the journey, right? So yeah, and one thing I wanted to touch on too, and because I feel like I'm an advocate for what is success to you. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if success to you is kayaking, and you only need to make, I don't know, whatever, $5,000-$6,000 a month to live the life you want, then go for that. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not one size fits all. We're all uniquely created. We all have an individual purpose, an individual gift, and your job is to follow that and give it away. You know what I mean? And so I think that once you start to do that, then things start to flow. It's all interconnected. It all goes back to the story, making a decision, and you know what I mean?
It's all connected. You're absolutely right.
It's all connected.
Do you have one last tip? And like, if there's one last thing that you could share with people to say, like, in order to have a brilliant life, I mean, you've given a lot today, but is there one last thing? Like, if there's one thing that you need to do in order to have a great life, it's
don't beat yourself up so much. Don't beat yourself up. I beat myself up a lot, thinking I had to be a certain thing, or I had to be a certain way, or whatever. Just don't beat yourself up so much. You know what I mean? And yeah, listen to yourself. Like, listen, you can love people and take advice and whatever, but one thing that I try never to tell someone what they should do because I don't know your circumstance. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what's right for you. I always say, do what's right for you. Take this that you've learned today and then do it to what's right for you. And that's okay. And everything is good. That's it. You know?
You're awesome.
Oh, Linda, thank you. I'm so happy that we did this. Actually, I'm really honored actually that you contacted me. So I'm really happy that we spent this time together today. I'm so excited to see the whole thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your generosity because you've been extremely generous in your conversation, in your sharing today. It's been amazing. So,
oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.